Just as a general rule of thumb and a takeaway and something to go by, in almost every single case, when it comes to matters of health or improving the lives of Americans, the politicians that are loudest and squawking against that are the most corrupt. Almost every single time. It's almost foolproof. And it was played out in real time yesterday on the Senate floor with that RFK hearing, and it was incredible exactly what happened. And it's confusing. It's a confusing time as you don't know what to think, especially now he's talking about vaccines and health and the CDC. It's a confusing time, especially if you've got young kids, and I totally get that. I was there, I'm there now. It's a confusing time. But as a takeaway, to understand the people who are most to gain by keeping the system in place that we have right now were the loudest yesterday. And it was so easy to see. And it was played out in real time, and it was beautiful to see. A lot of this stuff is difficult to see, though. Do you remember when I first started doing this live stream, the podcast, last fall? I was saying that I love that people call this the start of the golden age, and it's true. A lot of stuff is good. A lot of stuff's going to get great. I call this the adolescence age because this is the time in our country where we're realizing how many just systems and foundations and institutions that we always relied on are completely and totally corrupt. And that's tough to deal with. It is. I understand that. I totally get that. But you got to expose all this before it gets better. That's starting to happen right now. It was incredible yesterday. Not going to talk about that the whole morning, though. We're also going to talk about the start of the NFL last night. And before the game even started, we had a player ejected. This is why I can't gamble on sports. Can't do it. Can you imagine if the Eagles had lost that game? They won, by the way. Congrats, Eagles fans. If they had lost because this player was ejected for spitting, I can't. Can you imagine if you lost money because this idiot couldn't control his emotions? That, and we got power. I have the winning Powerball number for you. Okay, not really. But science says there's a number that is due to come up. We're going to investigate that as well. But more importantly, you're this close to the weekend. Thanks for finding Wicked Radio. All platforms, just look for Wicked Radio with me, Bill Adams. You'll find it, especially you audio podcast listeners, whatever platform you decide to use. And welcome to Friday. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about it. Okay, RFK, Bobby Kennedy Jr., Senate floor in the lion's den yesterday, facing all these senators. And this is why I say it was a beautiful thing to behold. First of all, for all the people who are in government right now who are truly trying to make change, who truly care for the betterment of Americans, you, me, and everybody else, this guy is facing the most fire, I think. Whether or not you even like him, you got to admit that he's trying. He truly does care about the health of the American people, and he feels the way he's going about it is the way to go about it. You've got to clean up the corruption first and foremost. Here's how the hearing started, and this is pretty much how he set the scene, and he said, we are the unhealthiest country in the world. Now, that's indisputable now. Nobody's arguing with that, but this is how he set the scene, and then it got really...
We are the sickest country in the world. That's why we have to fire people at CDC. They did not do their job. This was their job to keep us healthy.
Thank you,
and
Mr.
I need to fire some of those people to make sure this doesn't happen again.
So... And he even said, I think he said it 2 or 3 times yesterday. And as soon as I'm done here, I'm going to fire some of those people. Now, it shouldn't surprise you that now there are published reports by some very credible news outlets, independent journalists, saying there's a coup within the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, where they're conspiring and whistleblowers against him to make sure that's not happening. That right there should tell you there's something deeply wrong with this system. There's very, very deep and dark and corrupt that's happening there. And let's start it off right there with exactly what he said. This is where we are now, and let's not forget that. We're incredibly sick. It's not working. Whatever the hell we have right now, even if you hate Bobby Kennedy, you hate what he's trying to do, you don't want to see anybody lose their jobs, I think we can all agree what's happening right now is not working. And here's what's even worse. It's getting worse, and a lot's getting exposed. All right, now let's get to the good stuff. Exposed, remember what I said there, and if you're just joining in live now, this is the takeaway. I would put it at 99.9999% foolproof. And the key is, when it's an issue that betters the lives of Americans, and I think we can all agree that getting healthy is better for all of us, right? And our kids, future generations, current generations. Can we all agree on that? The politicians that squeak and squawk and moan and yell the loudest are the most corrupt. Here's the incredible thing. We saw it happen and get exposed in real time yesterday. Like I said, that a lot of this stuff is tough to handle. Yeah, I'm sure you all know people like I do where their brains just cannot handle this, where you lived your whole life, decades, your whole generation, where you found out that all of these institutions are corrupt or corrupted. That's why they're fighting so hard. Case in point, Elizabeth Warren yesterday. Now, all of them, they were all putting up a fight against him. You don't know what the guy from the senator from New Mexico. Don't you know who works for you? Well, yes, I do. That's a government contractor. And they were throwing all these ridiculous barbs at him. There was one lady who brought up the Epstein victims for some reason. And Kennedy just said, "You're just ridiculous, Senator." Anyway, but nobody's as bad as this lady. We don't often see this happen in real time, but it got so heated that it got exposed. Elizabeth Warren, that's right, the lady that President Trump calls Pocahontas. You know that whole background story. The senator from Massachusetts, the loudest and the squeakiest and the squealiest yesterday, and for a good reason. If you missed this, you have to.
I never promised that I was going to recommend products with which there is no indication.
When you said,
and I know you've taken $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies.
Oh, how much? $855,000 from pharmaceutical companies have gone to in political contributions and maybe some NGOs, but it wound up in the coffers of Senator Elizabeth Warren. Now, you may be like I was, and I said, well, that can't be true. Maybe he's just throwing that number out there. No, it's true. No, it's confirmed, and it's a fact. $855,000 she has taken from the pharmaceutical companies. You think possibly she has a vested interest in keeping the status quo and where we are and doesn't give a damn about the health of kids or the nation but they're not going to be able to get their vaccines. Now, if you had given hundreds of thousands of dollars to politicians, wouldn't you want them up there doing the exact same thing? Fighting to keep the status quo, more and more vaccines, more and more boosters, more shots, and they attacked him as they always do with Bobby Kennedy Jr. And again, I said, keep an open mind. Maybe you don't like him. You don't like what he's doing. I understand that. But I think it's exposed now that this argument against him, that he's anti-vax, he said it again and again and again yesterday. No, I'm pro-science. I want these things proven, and you're pushing them, and you're advocating for them, and you want them to keep on going on without the proper testing. That's all the guy has ever wanted. If he's come out with outlandish statements in the past before, totally understand that. Maybe you don't agree with anything he said, but you can't argue with the fact because the guy's entire reputation is on the line, and nobody in this administration has been attacked like him. So I think you can take it at face value that he truly does care about the health of the American people. But again, third time I've said it. Those who squeak the loudest against keeping Americans healthy or making them healthy are the most corrupt, like her. Unfortunately, we didn't get the numbers and contributions from all the pharmaceutical companies for all the senators that were up there, but it'll come out, and we'll understand it. Here's the other thing, too. Here's another piece of thing about the CDC and why he needs to fire people and what's happening here. Is Bobby Kennedy Jr. again.
Do you believe COVID-19 was politicized?
Yeah, the whole process was politicized. Senator, I mean, we were lied to about everything. We were lied to about natural immunity. We were lied to about, we were told again and again the vaccines would prevent transmission, they'd prevent infection. It wasn't true. They knew it from the start it wasn't true because that's what the animal studies and the clinical trials showed. We were told that there was science behind cloth masks. The CDC allowed the teachers union to write the order closing our schools.
Right there. There it was right there. And that's not, that's not true. Spend 2 minutes to fact check that, and you'll find it actually was true. They empowered the CDC to control the entire thing because it was a health crisis. We all lived through it. But through that entire experience, as horrific, as silly, as insane as the COVID era was, so much got exposed. All of this. We wouldn't be talking about and having hearings right now about making Americans, and especially kids, healthier if we hadn't gone through that horrific experience. So it leads to this. He's going to fire... He's firing all these CDC employees. He wants to get rid of them by the hundreds, might be 1,000. Okay, right? If you had told me that any organization, as it is right now, and just look at the stats right now in our health situation, was as bad as it is, what do you have to lose? They're not doing their jobs right now. Me, I'm A-okay with getting rid of these people and starting over because it's not there yet. But it's getting real close to being the fact that we can't get any worse. It's really that close. But again, those squawking the loudest against that about improving the health. Well, you can't do that. If we're sick and you want the status quo, it's easy. You're corrupt as hell. We'll see where it goes. He's still got an uphill battle. I don't know. We'll see where it goes, but it's absolutely true. All of this stuff got exposed, and it's tough to hear. It's very tough. You figure the CDC, we can trust them, trust the health decisions. Yeah, not so much. But it's okay, because out of this, at the end of it, we're all waking up. All right, let's get out of that. Too heavy to deal with on a Friday, although important. Let's go sports. That's right. The NFL is back. They kicked off last night in Philadelphia. Philadelphia Eagles. Congrats, Eagles fans. 24-20 over the Cowboys. This had like an hour-and-a-half lightning delay. I had bailed by then. I'm like, I'm not sitting around for a delay. And I started to sit down to watch this game. And it was, oh, by the way, Boys to Men, the trio, the three dudes, I forgot they're from Philly. They did an amazing national anthem. I don't have that for you, but that was incredible. They should do that for the Super Bowl coming up. I didn't see that, but I did see this. Before he even played a snap, we had an Eagles player ejected. You probably saw this. Jalen Carter for spitting. This was the announcement. I'm sitting there watching this live, and I'm going, well, this can't be.
35-yard line. Conduct. Defense number 98. Number 98's defense actions has disqualified him from the game.
Whoa.
15-yard penalty.
Whoa.
Automatic. First down.
So Jalen Carter, the focus and the star for the Cowboys, for the Eagles on the front line, out for the game before snap. Here he goes. He walks there in front of Dak Prescott.
It was right after kickoff, and Jalen Carter, the phenomenal defensive lineman for the Eagles, gets tossed before he even played a snap. They're in the middle of the field after the kickoff, and allegedly, supposedly, looks like he did. He spit at Dak Prescott, the quarterback of the Cowboys. My first takeaway was I'm sitting there watching this going, this is why I can't bet on the NFL or any sports. I can't do it. I'm too much of a psycho anyway. But the second thing is, can you imagine? They didn't. The Eagles won that game. Can you imagine if they lost, though, and it was because of that player not being in the game? Can you imagine if you had, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars on that line and they lost, mainly because that guy's gone, probably their best defensive player, maybe their best overall player? I would lose my mind if that happened. And the second takeaway is, it just goes to show you could be a multi-millionaire, like he is, a superstar in the NFL, like he is, and still not have 1 ounce of common sense because he put his team, the fan base, everybody in jeopardy by doing that. It's the way it is. But the NFL season's... the problem is that overshadows, too, everything else that happened in the game. Great NFL, great opening national anthem, great presentation. I think the NFL did a good job. Nope, what's everybody talking about? That. But there you go. All right, speaking of money, let's send you into the weekend with some hope. We're going to become multi-millionaires when we all split the Powerball jackpot, right? Okay, maybe not. But there's always hope, and it's fun to play. Well, science has come up with this. It's the most overdue number for tomorrow's. That would be Saturday. If you're watching this later on in the weekend, you'd already know what happened. But anyway, play along. For tomorrow's Powerball drawing, that would be for Saturday anyway. I know a lot of you catch up on Sunday, but we'll see. Maybe you're richer already. I don't know. If you're going to go for the $1.7 billion drawing tomorrow, it's going to be one of the biggest lottery jackpots ever in history. It is big, and it's fun to talk about. Now, we'll get to the odds later. But a website is out there. And just so you know, and you want to look it up on your own, let me get the website. I believe it's USA Mega. I don't know. You can find it. This is what they've discovered. They've analyzed all the Powerball drawings from the last 10 years. So it's 1,246 drawings since 2015. Over the last decade, the number that's most likely to come up of all those numbers is 61. Interesting. All right? First 5 numbers of the Powerball drawing can be 1 to 69. 61's been drawn 115 times. Most commonly drawn numbers over the past 10 years, 61, 21, 23, 33, 69. The one that's least likely to come up is 13. Odd enough. 5 least likely numbers, 13, 49, 26, 46, and 65. But here's the real magic number, apparently. Because you know how these things go. It's kind of like when you're playing blackjack and you're like, oh, that card hasn't been drawn in a while. It's coming. I know it's coming. That's the theory behind this one. They say the number that's most overdue that's to be drawn tomorrow night for Powerball is 26. 26 is the magic number. Hasn't been drawn since April of this year. So keep 26 in your thoughts and prayers and your picks for the Powerball number, apparently, if you want to win. Now, what are your odds? This is always the bummer part of it. You know, everybody's excited about Powerball. We all think we're going to be billionaires. Okay, not to bring you down to earth too far, but here we go. Your odds of hitting it are 1 in 292 million. So you're better off taking the 50 or 60 or 100 or 1,000 bucks of Powerball and putting it into some better investment. With that said, I played a few numbers. Anyway, it's fun to think about anyway. Who knows? But the main takeaway today, remember, when it comes to the health of Americans, the loudest politicians are the most corrupt, and we saw it play out in real time yesterday. More importantly, have a great weekend. Make it wicked awesome. Whether or not you win Powerball, if you do, remember us and your friends. Take that for what it's worth, and thanks so much for hanging out. If you're watching on a replay later on, I hope you won Powerball already. Remember, Wicked Radio with me, Bill Adams, everywhere on X. I'm at Wicked Bill Adams. Explains the name of the show, and you audio podcast listeners, subscribers, and downloaders as well. Thanks so much. That's going great. Make it a wicked awesome weekend. Have fun. Be safe. I'll talk to you Monday.